All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to the Dedicated Show. Really excited to have you on here today. So I personally have not gone live for the past 2-3 weeks because of a little summer break, and really excited to get back here and talk to the data community. We have a really special guest with us today from RapidMiner. His name is Martin Schmitz, and he's the head of data science services at RapidMiner. What we're going to talk to you about today is how you need an embedded data science factory, not a research institute. So as I bring Martin up on our stage here, I want you all to just let us know where you're tuning in from. I want to see, I'm based in New York, Martin's in Germany. So it's always interesting to have a very diverse group of people in the audience. So as you're joining us, let us know that you're here. First of all, say hi. I see Avery just said, Avery's here, and I see Alan is here. People are really jumping in here really fast. So I'm going to go ahead and bring Martin up on our virtual stage here. Hello, Martin.
Hi, Kate. How are you doing?
Good. I love your plants behind you, and I noticed one of them said tea. So that's my first.
No, that's actually not a plant, but so I'm a coffee addict.
Okay.
I'm usually on the coffee side. But I realized that drinking like 6 coffees a day is maybe not the best thing to do. So what I want to do is actually go over to drink only tea in the afternoon. So become a bit more British, and that's my attempt of doing it. So.
Okay. So, most of us here are coffee addicts. I confess. My name is Kate, and I drink a lot of coffee. I limit it to 2 per day, though. If I have 3, I don't know. I might take over the world somehow. So, yes. Coffee is good, but it's glad to see that you're here with us today, Martin. And for those who are not familiar with you, it'd be great if you give a brief introduction and also tell us a bit more about RapidMiner.
Sure. I'm Martin, as Kate mentioned. Actually happen to run the data science team here at RapidMiner. RapidMiner is a software, and you probably heard about it. Avery just said in the chat, it's a classic. It's been around nearly for 20 years now. And we have a full data science platform, and we want that everybody is able to use data to positively influence the future. And we do this by not just having a suite which is completely great for coding data scientists, but also for people who do the no-code way. And I think we'll see this later on. Mm-hmm. What I do in my daily life is mostly coaching our customers. How to use our software, but also how to do data science, how to approach a problem, which problem to pick first, and all these kind of things.
Okay, awesome. Well, it's a pleasure to have you here. And a quick reminder to the live audience that has joined us on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, or Twitch is you can ask Martin any question. He's here to answer all questions. He's promised.
No pressure, Kate.
No pressure. So I just see that people are joining us. Jelena's here from Toronto, Dr. Jonathan from Georgia. Kristen, the sign is good progress. Martin, okay. I'm not sure if that progress comment is around you switching to tea or...
Yeah, likely it's getting off tea, getting off of coffee a bit.
Yes, getting off that coffee truck. I got it. All right, so guys, feel free to ask questions as long as they're on the topic of data science. I think we can move into talking about maybe how you yourself got started in data science. I know people come to this field from a variety of different areas, from all fields of interest, really. So I'd love to hear your journey.
Absolutely. So I did what was I think best back then more common than nowadays in how to get into data science. I studied physics in Dortmund. So RapidMiner was also founded in Dortmund. That's how I then got into RapidMiner. And there are these huge particle detectors to detect particles, like elementary particles. And I think the biggest one, I think it's still the biggest one, is on South Pole, right below South Pole under the American ice station. It's called IceCube, and it's a square kilometer of ice. And what we do is, or what I did back then is, you want to detect neutrinos from outer space. Why neutrinos? Well, usually if you want to learn something about the universe, you look up and see stars and look at the light. And then at some point you ask yourself, how can I learn more about the universe? And you think about what else if not light? And then you come with protons and light in different wavelengths or neutrinos. And that's what we detected down there. And why did I say this is like the typical route for data scientists back then, or both ways? For particle physicists, it was normal to do data science, and back then way more data scientists were particle physicists, because it's in its core, first of all, a big classification problem. You have particles not from outer space, but from Earth, and you have particles from outer space, and you have to find the ones from outer space, and that's a classification problem. Back then, I used a lot of random forests to do that. Other folks used gradient boosted trees. I know nowadays a lot of people use neural networks, deep neural networks, because you have basically a video going on of a particle rushing through this detector. And that's how I got into data science like 10 years ago.
So did you ever go to the South Pole?
Actually not. So, I mean, the data is shipped with a ship, literally from
Oh, wow.
So part of that is going via satellite in real time, but then part of it is really going by ship, because the latency may be bad because it needs a while to get to California. Mm-hmm. But actually the bandwidth of a ship in megabytes per container is pretty awesome if you think about it. So there's like the US Air Force is using airplanes from Vietnam War still to fly to this station and stuff. And it's kind of hard to get there. Not everybody gets the choice to go there. You also can only go during the Antarctic summer. I didn't do it. Friends of mine did, but I didn't. I was back then already a pure data scientist, and what we want to talk about is like research and why you need a data science factory, not a research center. What I did back then was really the research center, completely apart from the detector, literally on the other side of the world in Germany to South Pole, and never saw it.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be probably the biggest topic of our discussion today is how do we build that embedded data science factory versus keeping the data scientists as a research institute somewhere away from the South Pole, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is prototypical for what I can see in many locations. The data scientists are far away from the actual business. Mm-hmm. They are not like I'm in Germany. We have a lot of manufacturing stuff going on, and then I was recently at a conference. Before Corona, I was at a conference, talked to people about they wanted to have an incubator for data science. It was a big manufacturing company, and guess what, Kate? Where would you put an incubator for data science?
I mean, as close to the business as possible, I would think, as close to the decision makers.
Well, that would be one way, but I also know people who did this really in the nice and shiny building of the sea level or in the central headquarters in capital cities. Yeah. Where that's already way away from the real business. Then you need to go often over there and see what is going on. You want to know what it really is. I have a pharmaceutical client where I'm still angry at myself. I didn't give the full training for them. And the first day of the training in our software was, okay, we go now in the plant and we show you how these tablets were made. Yeah. And I haven't been there on the first day. It still hunts me down that I didn't do this because I don't know how this really looks like. You want to be close to the data capturing process. And if you are in a central unit, in a centrally nice New York office, you're not. Yeah. That's one way how people do this. That's more if you have a unit which works for the CDO, CIO, something like that, and you're in a central location in a nice tower. Yeah. The other way of doing that is you want to be cool, especially if you are, let's say, a mid-sized, mid-capped manufacturing company, not based out of Bay Area or something, but more in the countryside, then it's very hard to attract talent to the countryside, you know? So what do? You do an incubator, and you do this, I don't know, probably nice in London, or in Germany, it needs to be Berlin, and it needs to be Berlin-Kreuzberg or Berlin Friedrichshain. The cool parts of Berlin, you know, where everything is a bit hipster. Sometimes Munich is okay, but that's it. So you literally make an incubator, not even in the central business units who may use your models and your data analytics, but completely far away from it, from both. From the people who may use it, and from the actual data capturing or what's really going on. And when I learned one thing from you, Kate, I learned a lot from you.
You learned something from me, Martin. Tell me, what was it?
It's about people and about telling a story and understanding a story. And a lot what we want to do is turn data into story and explain it to people and make it accessible. Guess what? The core part in that is people.
Yeah.
And if you do never ever meet the people who need your model, if you're in your ivory tower, far away from everything, that's not a good start. You fight an uphill battle then already.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do want to get into how we resolve this, right? How do we get people out of the ivory tower, intermingling with the people that they need to talk to?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, get close to the people.
You mean physically?
Yeah. Well, physically.
COVID.
Okay.
COVID.
In the way that you want to go to the plant, meet the people,
right.
Say hi, have lunch with them. It's not all just nice. We draw down our equations and everything is great, and we build a model and everybody is happy. There's a lot of a human concept to the whole thing. I mean, what you do is a lot of consulting and also change management. Think about it that way. You sometimes have businesses who, at Dedicated Conference, I talked about this brewery where we do, basically predicting the amount of sugar in the beer because that's correlated to alcohol. Brewing is how old? A few thousand years. I mean, I think there's like 2,500-year-old breweries somewhere found, like excavated. But at least here, like in Germany, you can find I think 1,000-year-old brewery somewhere. So, and you go there and say, I do this differently. Okay. And that's like the fundamental thing about change management. And change management is about people, getting in contact with people, getting the trust of people, don't never ever underestimate this thing. And we talk about Research Institute against Data Science Factory, and the Research Institute is like, I always need to think about this professor from Futurama, Not sure if you
I've not
remember
watched,
it.
I know Futurama, I've not watched that many episodes, so tell us about this professor, go ahead.
Well, I think he's somewhat, but I think there's a similar character in The Simpsons, like this a bit crazy professor who is not able. Well, actually, the one in Futurama is actually really likable and is able to communicate to people more than the one in The Simpsons, I think. But he's like in The Simpsons, it's more a distant character. Nobody understands him. He's a bit crazy. You don't really want to get in contact with him, and you do not want to signal this kind of image of the egghead kind of guy into the company. You want to be approachable, more like the business consultant type of person. So the first thing is really you want to talk to the end users. You want to socialize with the end users or who use your model. I think that is the very first important step.
Yeah, I think that's definitely important, is talking to the users of the model. How often do you suggest that happens? I know initially probably more so, right, as you get to know each other, as you're building that team, but on an ongoing basis, how frequent should these communications be?
I would like to be as close as possible to it. I would like to literally be on site at the plant where it's used.
Is that practical, Martin? Can you actually let's say brewery as an example. I know you love the
I
brewery
think the
concept.
brewery case is the case where you can really do it, because I think,
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, there's like one building and you're in there and you can go over, say hi, and can actually do this. But also German breweries are not crazily large. It's a bit smaller and a bit more family business type of thing. So actually there it would work pretty well. It's a different story. We got a chemical company who has plants all over the world, or pharmaceutical company all over the world. And if no matter where you are, if you do more than one project, you can't be close to every project. It's a bit sad, but that's it.
Yeah, it's a matter of focus, I guess, right? That's
yeah. I mean, focus is about making more than one project at a time. The other thing is you need to try or work on getting into contact with the people and stay in contact and use Teams or Slack or these kind of technology. Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, hard but not impossible. So, Martin, I just wanted to say I want to take a couple of questions, comments from the audience. So Ravid had a comment here that he said he has a feeling that RapidMiner has just broken the stereotypical fundamental management and is growing rapidly. So sounds like a compliment to RapidMiner.
Thank you.
He also had a question for you earlier on when you were talking about your background. So he said, quick question: how have things changed in data science from back then when you started? Back in the dinosaur ages. Martin.
Oh, the dinosaur ages. I think it's not the dinosaur ages where I come from.
I know, 10 years ago, right?
10 years ago. So I remember that I hadn't, when I started to do analytics, also with Python, I don't know why, but I can't remember pandas. I only remember NumPy back then. Maybe I just didn't know about pandas, or it wasn't the standard. I don't know. I would need to look it up, how old pandas is and when it became the de facto standard for data frames. It was all more cumbersome, and you needed to put things together way more, and there was less things you can took off the shelf. I'm not even sure if I think sklearn was around, but 10 years are a lot. I think that's the biggest difference. The other difference is I think it was still called data mining. It's kind of funny if you talk to people. Then the concept, like you take a neural network or a gradient booster tree, they are out there since forever, And in the beginning, it was called knowledge discovery, or KDD, knowledge discovery in databases. Then I think partly it was called pattern recognition. That's my favorite word for it, because it explains what it's doing. It's detecting patterns in data.
Yeah.
It's and by the way, when I'm explaining what data science is, I usually say, okay, let's calm it down and say, we talk about a pattern recognition algorithm, and it's able to detect very complex patterns. Humans have a hard time doing it. Then it, I think, was called data mining. Then and then it exploded and was called big data, AI, ML, data science, with overlaps and everybody having different definitions of it. So I think there was also a lot of change in naming of the things, and everything exploded. There were so many people coming into the field, which is good. It's great. I like it.
Yeah, I think you mentioned an interesting point that we talked about earlier that I really wanted to make sure we bring up in our conversation is there is a large influx of people coming into this space even now, because data science is still, one of the hottest roles out there. Everyone wants to be a data scientist for various reasons. Maybe they think it's just a really interesting role or the potential of a large income. But my question to you is, how do you think people can differentiate themselves and really stand out from the crowd to be the person that gets that job or gets that project?
I think it's harder than ever to get through the first rounds of interviews.
And is this at the entry level you're saying, or
yes.
Okay.
Yes. If you don't have much experience, like internships and this, it's super hard to get through, let's say, the screening phases. Like if you open up a job offer, you get hundreds of applications. There are there are applications coming in left and right from people who all look very similar from just their CVs, because yeah, well, they did a course, they have a master's in either data science or computer science and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Getting through this first screening is very, very hard if you do not have work experience.
Yeah.
And I can't really tell you what like stands out. So for me, personally, I'm searching a lot for people who can explain what they are doing. Yeah, you know, we talked earlier before the stream about what I call unicornification of the job.
Yes.
So unicornification is the idea that everything or every skill you don't possess in your normal business, you put onto the data scientist's plate. It was actually a bit worse a few years ago, before there were dedicated job titles for the data engineer and the machine learning engineer, you know. But when this Harvard Business Review article came out, like the coolest job of the 21st century, the data scientist was everything. And you haven't had a change manager? No problem. Let's put it on the data scientist. You don't have an educator who can explain things greatly, best? No problem. Put it on the data scientist. So he should also be a consultant. And this uniform quantification is a bit a curse, because it's always so easy to say, I put everything on my data scientist. And then I don't find anyone who is like a great mathematician, a great programmer, a great machine learning problem solver, explainer, and change manager, and project manager, maybe also, you know. But still, because of, and then we're going back to the research center and the factory thought, explaining and convincing people that the models you build are valuable is a skill which is super important. And that's what I'm searching a lot for. It's hard to get from CVs. But once you talk to somebody, and maybe we'll see this later, maybe we talk a bit about interview questions and such, you can figure this out rather quickly and how somebody interacts with you. But then again, I'm hiring mostly for customer-facing roles. So there the skill is, of course, even more pivotal.
So have you met any unicorns in your career?
You mean the perfect unicorn?
The perfect unicorn, yes.
Or
it looks like your video might have frozen, or maybe it's my computer. It froze in a very funny way, where I thought you're just thinking. Yes, like a unicorn that possessed all the skills that we were just talking about. Those in the audience, let us know if you can still see us and hear us. Just want to make sure. Oh, it looks like we might have lost Martin, but I'm sure he'll be back. In the meantime, yes, awkward is definitely it. I don't know who LinkedIn user is. That was pretty funny. Okay, perfect, Kristen. So I'm hoping Martin joins us. I can't do the show without him. Okay, Dinesh, thank you. It might have been an internet glitch. This does happen. You know, we are speaking from New York to Germany, live streaming to several platforms. Okay, perfect. He's trying to rejoin. Yes, Roberta says Martin is impressed by the unicorn. That was pretty funny. I'm like, have you ever met a unicorn? Maybe he wasn't allowed to answer. Maybe the universe is like, maybe he's met a real unicorn before. But anyways, guys, thank you for your patience here while we get Martin back on stage. We do have an interesting surprise for those of you that stick around, and this is only for the very daring volunteers. I see Martin is coming back there. Did you join from your phone, Martin?
Yeah, tablet. Yeah, it's probably the worst case for a breakdown of your computer, right?
Oh, listen, we can see you, we can hear you.
Yeah,
It,
yes.
people think it's maybe because of the unicorn. Like you didn't want to talk about you.
No, 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 no. So the last question I heard from you is, have you ever met a unicorn? And I think the answer is hardly if you do these strict measures.
Mhm.
If you really want to have somebody, like there are so many LinkedIn posts saying he or she needs to be everything. Do I meet anybody who's everything? I don't know. Probably not. I know that I can learn a lot in every dimension because there's so much out there. There's
Yeah.
only 24 hours in my day. I cannot learn that much. So, but on the other hand, I met people who are brilliant, brilliant communicators who have a good knowledge about data science. So I would say yes, if you aren't like too crazily strict on the definition.
Okay. Yeah, I think this is a very attractive part of the space that attracts a lot of people who want to continue learning, right? Because it's very rare that you'll get to a point where you just are a unicorn and you simply are just the best at everything. I think we all, strive to get there, but at the same time, I really do think that's the attractive part of the space. We had a question here from Zhao, and he's asking, what is your advice for those who do not have experience and want to start a career in data science? So I know you mentioned the most difficult thing to do is to get a job without experience, and this is the exact question coming here from Zhao. So what advice would you have?
Get a good CV, which stands out. Have a project or two which you can link to on your GitHub
Okay.
or something. But don't do the mistake of cloning a random Boston house pricing demo and call it yourself. That doesn't work.
Yeah.
It needs to be original. People, you can see so easily whether this is real or not.
Yeah, and I think the key point here is the original, right? Being unique, because the way you stand out from the crowd is not to do what everyone else is doing, is to do something unique and different. And I think a lot of times when I ask people this type of question of, how can people stand out or how can they crack that interview, is to either showcase maybe a very special project. And by special, I know it's a very wide definition, but typically it means it's something you're personally passionate about, because that passion tends to come through, especially in an interview. It's a little tougher to do in a CV, especially if the first round of CVs are being looked at by a computer automatically. But if you do get on that conversation, I think just showing your excitement goes such a long way, versus someone who's just doing what everyone else has done, getting the course, getting the masters, and the bare minimum.
Yes, yes. The other thing is, if you like, networking on LinkedIn
Yes.
can be extremely powerful. If the manager knows you, he gives you a fair shot, or she gives you a fair shot. And that's what you need. You need the possibility to speak up to him or her. And then it's just about you. If you know your stuff, you got it. If not,
Oh yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm the biggest proponent of branding on LinkedIn. I think it's so powerful because if you talk about, pick anything, right? Let's say coffee or eggs. If you talk about eggs all day and then people have a question about eggs, I don't know why I chose eggs. I have no clue. That's such a weird example. Anyways, pick a topic. Let's say data. If you talk about data all day and people need somebody in data, you'll be the first person they think of because, oh yeah, Martin talks about this all day long. Let's just call up Martin. It becomes easy.
Yeah, and you can also circumvent the normal hiring, especially for smaller companies. You pretty much know who hires.
Yeah.
So you can do the thing of not being in the list of 300 applications, but say, hey, we're connected for 3 months already. You saw my posts. Can I maybe send you my CV? That is gives you a different option to be seen.
Do you encourage that people reach out to potential hiring managers with a message like that?
Yes, I would.
Yes.
But again, take care of your brand online.
Yeah.
If I'm then that bold and just check your LinkedIn, and if you're like referencing or posting relatively bad, not bad. Bad is not the wrong comment, but one can see your interest in what kind of level you're interested in from your posts. If that doesn't fit, it doesn't fit.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
So
that's true.
it's not just about, hey, outreach, but it's then about your whole LinkedIn presence needs to fit to that. And the same is true on my comment on GitHub. The full presence, the full package needs to work.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to take one more career-related question before we go back into the whole embedded data science factory. There's a question from Arul, and he says, masters in data science or improving skills by courses, which is a better approach for a data science career to start?
I need to be very subjective here. I mean, take this just as one data point from one hiring manager. I think you should have a master's degree, not necessarily in data science. It can be computer science, can be some engineering, something, where you some STEM thing. If that's the question of, do I rather pursue a master's in general or do I do self-education? Then afterwards, those certificates are good.
All right, thank you for that.
Maybe let me join also for my laptop, then I can maybe also show a few things again. But
yeah, while you do that, I was just, I see you joined. Can't hear you yet.
I can hear you, and hopefully you can hear me now.
Yes, I'm just going to remove, oh, there you go.
Yeah, I removed myself.
Yep, perfect.
Sorry for that.
Martin is back the regular way.
The regular way with the proper not looking down kind of attitude, yeah.
But wait, people, at least you guys know this is 100% live. This is not pre-recorded.
It is 100% live. And also, here's the thing. When you do an interview, bad things can happen. First. And here's the one big thing. You do not need to know everything. Yeah. And take this example for my computer just froze. Apparently it has some temperature problem, and I hope that it doesn't do it again. Yeah. And well, show must go on. And you need to adapt to the situation. I, as a manager, when I do an interview and you do not know the answer to a question, but that's not a knockout criterion for you. Same for, I think that my computer just froze for 3 minutes. It's not a knockout criterion for this talk. It's a nuisance for everybody. Like, I am super annoyed by that, but it's not a killing thing against you. Quite the opposite.
People loved it. Don't worry. We had a lot of people said you were frozen in a very cool way, and I agree. You were. You know what? I asked the question, and you froze like this. And I'm like, okay, he's really thinking about it. But then I'm like, wait, he's not moving. Is he really, really that focused? So it's pretty funny. Actually, while you were trying to reconnect, I sort of alluded to the fact that we might bring on a volunteer from the audience. Because, hey, why not try even more things during our live session? So, guys, Martin had, and this is going to be towards the end of the talk, but Martin had an idea to bring on a guest from the audience, and I'll share a link for anybody who wants to. If you want to be the volunteer that we bring on the show, just say interested in the comments, and we'll make sure to get you that link. But Martin, tell people what you're going to do with them before they volunteer.
So I'll disclose 2 of my interview questions, which I ask to people, which I love to ask every now and then. I got a few more. So if you're applying, I think we have a few job offers out. I'll likely not ask this one for the next month or so. And I'm very interested for your answer. And I'll tell you what the correct solution is afterwards.
Yes. So if anybody wants to try out their interview skills, and this is your chance to impress not only Martin, but also everyone else is watching, which is clearly the entire world right now, the entire data world. We already have a Victor interested. Let's see if we get more people. We'll have to do like a little raffle. But so far, Victor, you're the one who's it. And we'll bring you on shortly.
And maybe Raul once he's dressed.
Yeah, Rahul said he's good, better get dressed. So I don't know if that comment was relevant for this or he just needs to get dressed, but either way, that's good, Rahul. Clothes are necessary sometimes. So, Martin, before we get into that, let's talk a bit more about this embedded data science factory
Yeah.
versus the research institute. How would you describe the actual difference to people? Like, what should they really picture, and why is one maybe better than the other?
I mean, we already talked about this egghead example in something, being
Yeah.
close to people, being not distance, being a part of the process, being a peer
Mm-hmm.
is also something very, very important. I also, you want to value people and you want to enable them. I'm a big, big fan of showing or doing data scientist with an engineer on site or a fraud analyst or something. You're often working with people who are well trained. You can show them how machine learning works, especially with a tool like RapidMiner, where you do not need to learn the Pandas API and what a Lambda function is before you can get started.
Mm-hmm.
And let them build a decision tree. Let them build a decision tree on a data set which is similar to the one you're working on of the use case they do. Show them how you validate a tree and why you're convinced that this method is great.
Mm-hmm.
When they did this once, they are way more convinced of trusting it. You know, I'm a big believer in that you want to involve the people who not always consume it, but who need to have the trust so that it works. Let them be part of the building experience and keep them involved. I remember an insurance use case where it was about, I think it was upsell or new business scoring.
Mm-hmm.
And they built a wonderful model. And then the people in the field, the agents just said, yeah, but I don't trust it. I just call the people I believe in. My gut feeling is better.
Yeah, the concept of trust, right? I think that's such a difficult bridge to cross. I live more on the business intelligence side, data visualization side of the whole process. And even there, it was a big hurdle to get over this trust factor where you're like, well, here's this data, it's automated, it's pulling in all the data and it's, here's your report that you're used to getting in PowerPoint. Now it's like this really cool tool. And they're like, yeah, no, I'm going to trust my Excel more. It's all about like getting over that hurdle. So what tips do you have for people to try to get more trust from the business, from the users?
I think there are two ways of looking at that. Either you want to get them more, you want to encourage more trust in data science by itself, the idea of building models, and it's hard. It's hard to get people from human learning, I understand something and do something on it, to machine learning and give something data, it does something with it and acts on it. That's a fundamental different approach of how things work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like crazy if you think about it, the difference between machine learning and human learning. And then take RapidMiner Go, which is you upload data. I can also quickly show that if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, let's see this. Absolutely. And maybe while you're pulling that up, I'll just let you know that Raul had a question. So maybe when you're doing that demo, you can also talk about how this differs from Alteryx or Salesforce, like Einstein tool.
Yep. So let's answer this first. So Einstein is, from what I understood, a vertical. Like we are a horizontal platform. We are doing all kinds of use cases. While Einstein is a bit also on the AutoML side, which you'll see we also have in RapidMiner, of course, a very specific use case on a very specific data structure. While we solve all use cases on all data structures, That's one thing. Alteryx, good point. We are together with Alteryx in the Gartner quadrants for data science platform, and you will not hear me talking bad about competitors. One big difference is where we are coming from. So Alteryx came more from the personal ETL side of the world, take data from a database, prepare it, push it into Tableau or Click or whatever. And we were founded at the chair for AI. And come from the machine learning part, and then got over and also at complete pre-processing, connecting to databases, connecting to Kafka, to PI or OSI sources, UPCOA, and all that kind of stuff. And you sometimes really see that we are, in my opinion, as a RapidMiner employee, of course, way stronger when it comes down to the machine learning side and stuff. I think we are more modern. I love our way of building it, but I'm also not an Alteryx expert or employee.
All right. So, Martin, I know you wanted to share your screen.
I need to reshare it. Yeah,
we're going to have to redo that because the disconnection, unfortunately.
That explains something. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll take more questions after. I know we have a couple that just came in. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the stream once you've got it up.
Okay, it should be up, right? Yeah, awesome.
Yep, we can see us.
Okay. So, then I shared the wrong screen.
Yes, I'm waiting for you. Oh, there you go.
So, okay. I'm running great today, I think. So what you see here is RapidMiner Go, and this is our automated way of doing this. RapidMiner has 3 modes of operations. RapidMiner can do automated machine learning. It can do what you maybe know if I open here my RapidMiner Studio, those workflows where you drag and drop in these operators and these operators do something. This is the no-code visual workflow designer. And we have a complete coding environment using Jupyter Notebooks. And back to the Research Institute question, what I would do is I would run a workshop, or I actually run workshops using this Go environment where you say, okay, I want to add data. Let's add data from my computer, this one here. Then it actually loads it and shows it to me. And I said, okay, I want to build a predictive model. And this is machine data here. You see I have my quality, and that's what I want to predict. There's a temperature while creating it, a few settings, an ID, and ingredients, like a bill of materials, what you use to create this thing here, and then a useness, how used the steel or something was you need to make. So we want to predict quality, press next. RapidMiner already does a complete check here on data quality, says, hey, Martin, using an ID is a bad idea for a machine learning model. You know, the IDness is very high. Don't use it.
Right.
Thank you. I won't use it. Clicking next, I can say, okay, do I want to have easy and interpretable models or high accuracy ones? You know, there are also a lot of advanced settings going on. And I can run my analysis. And okay, this is just a GLM and decision tree. I should have used the other one, where you then can actually also see deep learning models, creating boosted trees. It's just submitting the jobs. And what you then get is, if I click here on the tree, for example, you, of course, get the tree itself. You get the tree itself, likely.
Guys, it's a white tree with a white background.
It's a white tree with a white background. Yeah, exactly.
Is it internet loading, or is it not connected to data?
Probably it's my internet and my laptop today. Because
it's a lucky day, Martin. Let's see what else can go wrong. Hold on. Can you do a part view? Okay.
There. You know, see, now everything happened at once.
Yes.
So, okay. So I can click here on my linear regression model, get the root mean square error, get every error, and also we use something similar to Line to get local interpretation factors here. Also a great topic to talk about these factors, and so on. And you can like get a natural language explanation about what's being good and how good this is and so on. And that's one thing. You see, you can export it directly to your flow editor and something. But what I love to do with the people is use this model simulator and say, I want to use my generalized linear model. And here I can say, okay, what if my temperature is actually 90 degrees? Go to 90. And then you see in real time the prediction switch to 25. And you see what are these are again Line factors, kind of like Line factors. And see, okay, setting 2 is most influential for this. So if we change setting 2 here, then we get vastly different results. And think about, this is a predictive quality thing where you want to optimize, let's say maybe maximize the quality. So how do we maximize it? We go to low setting 2, then average ingredients 2, we may decrease to get higher values here. And
cool.
I use this tool really to explain, okay, what's going on in the background? What is this model? Maybe now so the decision tree pops up. I think it's just too big of a tree to render.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's doing internally some optimization, and we run on a lot of data.
Mm-hmm.
So the tree can be actually pretty big. And I think that's what we're experiencing here.
So where it says choose a model, generalized linear, with that drop down, are you able to select a different model there if you wanted to?
Yeah, of course. I can select all of them. Sure. Here in the drop down, all of the ones we built are available. We chose to only use the interpretable ones, so decision tree and linear model. And then you can say, okay, it's a what if scenario, like what does my decision tree think in this case here?
Yeah, this is really cool.
And you can just get this one here, kind of deploy this and let people actually use it. You can also use it in a way that this is actually that you use it really before somebody changes the setting of the machine. He first goes into the simulator and says, okay, given these conditions or given my bill of materials and my temperature, I propose to use setting 1 and setting 2 and setting 0 like this.
Right.
Would that be a good idea? Yes or no? And that's why you can have a public link and even send it to your colleagues and say, hey, here, next time try it out in our virtual world before you try it in the real world. That's why we call the use case also a virtual optimizer use case.
Yeah, and I guess this is also another best practice of working closely with the business, because they'll know what setting 1 and 2 is in the real world, and they'll know, like, if you decrease it all the way, maybe business burns down or something.
There's a whole thing about requirements engineering. Sometimes you have things, please maximize the quality, but it needs to be below 30 because then the viscosity goes up and it breaks our pumps.
Yeah, exactly. So you definitely have to work closely with others. I'll just put this away for just a second. We had a question here from Raul, and he was asking, is there a trial version, training, certification for this? And does everyone in the dedicated audience get a free copy right now?
So first, of course, so RapidMiner is really committed to the open source community and everything. A lot of our source code is on GitHub. You can just download RapidMiner. You've got a month of free trial, and we have an educational program. So if you're a student or a professor, we offer free licenses. And all of our trainings and our certifications, there are like 200 videos available on academy.rapidminer.com, where you can train yourself up both on data science itself, but also on using RapidMiner, of course. Go there, and you can just learn it.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I'm going to go back to the demo if you wanted to share something
else here. I think that's all I wanted to show on the demo. I rather would like to talk to you more about data science and ask my cool interview questions and stuff. I think everybody knows that RapidMiner is now a very cool product to check out.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of the interview question, I messaged Victor, who was our interested volunteer. I have not heard back yet, so if anybody else wants to take his slot, this is the time to do it. Just let us know you're interested. But we did have a question here from Brendan while we wait for another volunteer here. So he says, you talked about the working with the manufacturing side. Are you providing solutions for the IT front office cubicle side of the company as well? Joining the IT and OT part of a company is critical part, Industry 4.0 and digital transformation evolution.
Yes. So we are really, really horizontally working with all parts of the business and also with all kind of companies, also financial services, classical customer analytics and stuff. Just happened to be that, I'm a bit busy doing these predictive maintenance, predictive quality use case, and love to talk about that. But we do all of these, of course.
All right. Awesome. Thank you. We did have a comment back when we were talking about trust. So the comment was that, it's building trust in 2 levels, relationship between you as a subject matter expert and the client, showing them that you're there to solve their problems and help them excel, plus the solution that you're presenting should really have success criteria. Absolutely. Working faster than their existing solution and giving them more precise and great insights. And I absolutely agree, especially that second part where you're improving the way things were done before. And I
Yes.
think, yeah.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
So here's the last point I wanted to make on the Research Institute and the Ivory Tower.
Yeah.
A research institute is there for sometimes for just insights or just, research. What you are supposed to do in the business is generate value.
Mm-hmm.
If your model doesn't generate value for the company or for the user, nobody cares. It sounds hard when I say that like that, but most data scientists want to generate value of the model. And what is value? Most likely, you want to quantify it in dollars and cents. I actually wrote an ebook on how to do that. It's called Talking Value. Just Google Talking Value RapidMiner, you'll probably find it. And it's either that you quantify it in dollars and cents, or in a KPI meaningful to the stakeholders. And then we are at time spent on doing Excel reports every morning is reduced by a third or something, Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for that. And we can send the links to the ebook and the other stuff after, as well as like additional helpful resources, which I think people will appreciate. A few questions came up here. I'll take this one from Hang. How does RapidMiner Go select those models?
So since we have like a distributed architecture behind the scenes, we can actually run quite a few in parallel and then present the best optimized models to you. And you're actually able to change the performance metric to dollars and cents, to value, so that you can associate a given gain or cost to false positive, false negatives, and so on. And then you can train the models to give the best business outcome. So you really see that this idea of we don't want to be in our ivory tower is not just a part I propagate as a data scientist, and but also is in our product and drives the core product. I just didn't set the values for it earlier.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Just a comment here from Anish saying that RapidMiner Studio has a desktop version for free download. Limitations around 10K rows of data processing, and Go seems to be on the cloud. So first, I wanted someone else ask that: is Go on the cloud or no?
So Go is available on the cloud currently, but it's also part of our AI hub. So if you want, you can install it on-prem. You can actually install it on your own laptop. It's a Dockerized architecture and everything. And so there are different ways how you can actually use the Go functionality. There's also a similar thing to Go called RapidMiner Auto Model, using very similar things, but not with a web UI in RapidMiner Studio. And correct, after the 1 month trial, it's down to 10K rows or something. But again, there's an educational program. If you're a student, if you're a professor, we are committed giving licenses for that. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, and the rest of that comment was a compliment that, he's been using it for 2-3 years and seems to be pretty easy tool for a small project. So I think it's good for especially people who are trying to spice up their CV and putting projects on there. I think putting some using either the trial version or the version that has the limitations. I think you probably wouldn't need more than 10K rows to do a small project if you really wanted to showcase some skills. So definitely encourage people to go ahead and check that out. Now, Martin, I have good news. And that is, oh, wait. Oh, my God. Is he frozen again? Martin is frozen again.
Getting better here.
I love this.
I'm so sorry, folks. I'm so sorry that this
Martin, you know what you should have done? Because we didn't get a volunteer, because people are just scared of going live and being asked a very hard question. What you should have done is like gone live from your tablet and your phone and just ask yourself the questions. It could be like 2 different people. Sorry, I'm having too much fun with this. Let's see.
So
yes.
Let's maybe do the following. Let me explain or usually I would have some drawing and I would show you like how would we solve such a problem. That's one part where I would like to. So I'm not, as the manager, interested in learning, hey, I can write down the equation for backpropagation out of my mind and I can do the chain rule and everything. I'm definitely not interested in that, especially if you have certifications and such. I believe that you've shown that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
One of my most beloved questions is, hey, Kate, what's your take on explainable AI? And I don't have a perfect answer for you. There is no perfect answer because it's a complex thing, you know. What I want to know is, did you understand it? And do you have ideas how to put this into action?
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about the pros and cons of it? Of explainable AI can really help to give the user not just the prediction, but also the columns to support this prediction. And you can use this in a client engagement to generate more trust, you know, something like that. Or the other way around, well, you know, sometimes those interpretations may be misleading because you give basically wrong interpretations, which make no sense or are not understandable by the user. So when we two talk about explainable AI and how you would use it with a client or what you would not use it with a client, I can very clearly and quickly understand, did you understand what you're talking about? Or did you just learn Lime algorithm is, you know, local neighborhood, fitting a linear model and extracting the weight points of it? That's not what I'm interested in. I want to understand if you are able to use the tool to generate trust.
And what was the best answer you've heard from asking this question?
The best answer? Hey, Martin, I actually haven't looked at it. Can you explain more about it?
Okay.
So we hired him. He was nailing every other question. He was great answering. But just saying, look, there's so much out there. I'm happy to learn about it. Sounds very cool. And then we started the thing from there that I said, okay, that's what's the algorithm about? And he was like, oh, cool, I can use it like that. And, you know, and that's again on like, yeah, I do not expect that everybody knows everything.
Right.
Because nobody knows, you know. So, and that really impressed me, not because he gave the correct answer, because the way he handled the question and turned it also in an advantage for him. That was very impressive.
Yeah, and I think it goes a long way because, you know, it's so much easier. I have this thing where I tell people what I don't know all the time because it removes the whole concept of imposter syndrome, right? I don't come out there saying, hey guys, I know nothing. No, I go in there. I actually interviewed a couple of times for a data science position. And the main reason they actually selected me for the interview was I used to have my resume right on top of it. I put obsessed with data science, and a lot of hiring managers, they're like, wow, she's really obsessed with data science. We have to get her in, even if, you know, she might not know everything, but the fact that she's obsessed with it means she's willing to learn. And I think that goes a long way of getting the attention. And then once you're there, it's all about, like you said, how you answer those questions, because you should go into it knowing you're not going to know everything. Obviously, you need to know something, right? Like you can't go in there blank and say, hey, I'm a great learner.
No. But you need to know your unique selling points. I think you can learn a lot from sales and marketing yourself. And knowing your strength is definitely important. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you going to tell us the second question? Because now I'm curious. You said you had two. Come on.
I had two, but the other actually had a drawing, which I wanted to show. But here, it's very easy. You know, a bullseye, you have data points in a circle of one class, and then you have other data points in the center, the second class.
Okay.
And my question to you would be, what method would you use to solve the classification here?
So like, are you looking for like k-nearest neighbors, that type of answer?
Yeah.
Okay.
So KNN, why?
Why? That's one of the only ones I know. That's why I said that.
Yeah, and again, so you can have a whole range of answers here. You can say, I take a support vector machine with a radial kernel, because the radial kernel is doing exactly that. It measures the point from the center and then it solves it. You can also do the following answer. I do a coordinate transformation using polar coordinates, and then I can do a simple cut on the radius.
Mm-hmm.
Valid answer. You can do the overkill of saying, I use a neural network to solve that. It will solve it. But then my question would be, why do you use a neural network? Is that the only tool you like to use? What other tool would you use? And why would you use a neural network? And this question of why then prompts of, hey, maybe you had a thought about that. Maybe your thought is really around, I don't know, sigmoid functions are great for that. Or the answer is, I read this paper that neural networks can approximate everything. And I thought that's why it's always a good idea. There's some discussion coming out of that. And what I'm more interested in is not the answer to the discussion. Not the answer, but the discussion which comes from that, because it shows whether you understood the methods,
right,
or you just take one.
Okay, yeah, I know we're like totally over time, but I wanted to bring up one more topic here, because it's something that I don't know if it gets discussed enough. So people go to school, right? Let's say you get a master's in data science, some really technical field, and then you go to an interview and you get asked a question like this. And what you get rewarded for in academia is typically, what is the most complex method that you can use, or what is the most so you can sound smart of all the cool tools and algorithms you just learned. But then you get to an interview and maybe the hiring manager is asking you how you would solve this problem. And a lot of times there's this disconnect, because the hiring manager just wants you the quickest, simplest, cheapest, most effective way to have this done. And you're sitting there, well, I will use, and you go off on your tangent. So
Yes.
how do you think we address that gap? Or do you even think there is that gap?
Well, what you're addressing is research institute versus data science factory. It's once again the same thing. You come from a research environment, and then you're suddenly in an environment where the metrics of success are different, as you pointed out. I think especially data scientists can learn a lot about communication, about education, and while you pointed out that you come from the BI area, it's also a matter of fact that BI is ahead of us in this. BI has a bit of an easier game of explaining what they're doing, because they are not using crazy neural networks, but BI is way further in making it explainable and trustable and all of these things. So what you're referring to is exactly the same point of the difference between research and business and impact-focused work against, insight-driven work, or I'm not sure. And I don't want to disqualify it. I loved my time at IceCube. I love to dig down into that and learn more, essentially, about the universe. There's nothing wrong with it. It's cool, It's different in business. And this jump is hard. And I think one of the big things is be aware of it. Be aware how powerful storytelling is. When you do an interview about, okay, this and this and this, and how important is it not just to give the correct answer, but also to sell yourself. When I did my master's, tests actually were like 3 tests where you need to go in front of a professor and, he asks you questions similar to our situation a few minutes ago. I trained with a colleague for it, and she was always better than I was. She was the better physicist. She still is the better physicist, but I always scored the better marks just because of presentation style. It was completely unfair. It's always also there already, the point that the way how you present yourself is of utter importance, and I don't know, at least in German unis, it's not taught that much.
Yeah, I agree. I think the importance of data storytelling is definitely being highlighted. And you pointed it out also in that interview where you asked the guy a question, the way he answered that he doesn't really know explainable AI that well. And he kind of sold you on himself by using the form of a story to
And
answer that.
of course, you can't do it like if you have 8 questions, always you say, I don't know. That doesn't work. You know? But
yeah, like Raul just said here, I don't know. There you go.
I don't know. No, that doesn't work. But also in sales, you have the term to sell through. Like sometimes you just don't have that certain capability or something, and then you need to sell through. You also sell yourself through in those situations. And if you are also convinced of yourself that you have a broad portfolio of skills, then this also shouldn't be a problem. Because you are great.
I think that's a good note to wrap up the session on. I appreciate your time here with us today, Martin. I definitely appreciate the live audience for joining us, for engaging. And I always learn so much. You know, at some point somebody asked me, hey, what do you read or what do you watch? I'm like, I interview people. This is where I get my knowledge from, is I talk to very smart people, and that's how I learn. The last question I typically ask my interviewees is, where can people go to learn more? How do they connect? How do they follow up with you, Martin?
Follow me on LinkedIn, Martin Schmitz, RapidMiner. You can find it. I'm happy to be very active now on LinkedIn. So it started with a dedicated conference, and you really hooked me into that, of posting more and everything, and getting better audio setup and everything, which worked perfectly today. So definitely go on LinkedIn.
I'm so glad you got that, Martin.
Yeah, I'm also very glad that I got that last week, and now I need a new computer apparently. If you want to learn more about RapidMiner, rapidminer.com. If you want to learn more about data science and how to do data science with RapidMiner, academy.rapidminer.com. Feel free to go there. It's all free.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again so much for the session. And everybody out there, stay dedicated and have a good rest of your week.
Bye.